Dave Thomas joining us. You probably caught the Tommy Stevens interview, did you? Or did you just rush downstairs into your home studio?
No, I was listening. I'm a big fan of Tommy Stevens. I've seen what he was been able to do at college and just the athleticism that he has shown, because even in his time in the NFL, like they needed to get him on the field. So they were trying to, at the NFL level, convert him into a tight end. So that speaks to me volumes that when an NFL team is willing to convert your position just to allow you to play for them, I think that that's a pretty good sign.
I thought you were going to say you're a big fan of the SportsCage and you never miss it. So, of course, you listen to the Tommy Stevens interview. But, okay, we went that way. I asked Justin Dunk this, and Harry and I were just joking about it. Really no surprises today. Any surprises for you, Dave, whether it's the Riders or anywhere across the league?
You know, today has felt like Christmas Day when I was a kid back in Weyburn, because, you know, your brothers and siblings, you'd open all the gifts beforehand, so you knew what you were getting, right? And then mom and dad on Christmas Day, for whatever reason, decide to sleep in, so you have to wait to open those presents, even though you still know what you're going to get all day long. You're waiting just to see if maybe somehow Santa snuck something into your stocking to see what would happen. And really, the expected has happened. I'm surprised that Edmonton hasn't made a huge splash, because reportedly they're signing 12 guys. Like, that is a full offensive or defensive unit. So they're going to wait and do the testing for medical reasons. I get that. I understand that. But really, I was just kind of waiting to see, like, there's some names that are still on the board that I'm intrigued by, like Anthony Lanier. You heard Justin Dunk break it earlier from 3 Down Nation talking about Anthony Lanier is going to go ahead and make his way towards Toronto. Miles Brown is still out there, of course. He had an impact last year with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Christian Albright also is a name. So those are intriguing. Derek Moncrief, he's going to extend his career. He's going to make the move from Edmonton to Calgary next season, as that was announced a little bit earlier today. So not huge, big name moves that are jumping off the page, but still some substantial moves that are being made across the league.
Yeah. Did you think that Carey would stay in Toronto?
I didn't see an avenue for him to go really anywhere else. I thought that prior to Ottawa making their move with William Stanback, that maybe Kadeem Carey would make his way towards the nation capital. But again, he is such a good fit for Toronto. I couldn't fathom that the Argos would delay in extending his contract. So I don't know if that was a byproduct of him or the team, but he had an outstanding season and really, I thought, set the tone for the Argos.
You can never have too many offensive linemen, as we found out last year. Philippe Gagnon is making his way to Saskatchewan from the Montreal Alouettes. Like I said with Dunk, that's a guy, like, I feel he's been in the league, Dave, since I was in high school.
Well, he was a former number 2 overall pick in the draft, yes. Right? So he has played some seasons. He's won a Grey Cup with the Montreal Alouettes. What intrigues me is that he has been the starter in Montreal at the right guard position. So right tackle, we know, will be eaten up by Jamarcus Hardrick, again, presuming that he is A-OK. And from what I heard last year, he actually may have been available to play should the Riders have made it to the Grey Cup. So there's the right side of the offensive line, but who happened to play in the right guard? Well, just the outstanding offensive lineman from the West in Logan Ferland. So does that mean that he bumps to center, where he did quite a bit last year when Peter Godber was injured? And then what happens over on the left side? Because the left tackle, I think, is Trayvon Tate, who, of course, joined the Riders midseason last year. And then the left guard, there was Noah Zare, there's Zach Fry, there's Jacob Brammer. All are in the mix. So, yeah, there's tons of depth and quality depth, too.
Do you think that the salary cap last week, and now all these teams basically had an extra 400G-ish to play with, do you think that played in anywhere?
Well, that's a real interesting one by the accounts that I've read, and I haven't had firsthand knowledge. I haven't been able to ask the question straight off the hop. When did we know that the salary cap was going to rise? Because according to some, they say, well, no, the players found out the actual day that it was announced, 3 days into the negotiation window, and that's when the teams were informed of it as well. That's what some would have you believe. Again, I can't substantiate that at all. But Zach Collaros, again, he's kind of been the champion of the players, right, from time to time, and he came out and he said, this isn't right. Like, we've got guys that are signing contracts that were operating under a different salary cap. And so, again, we haven't heard much about it from the players that were signing. And as you heard Justin Dunk, because, again, I never miss a moment of the sports cage. I heard Justin saying that he hasn't heard of any deals falling through. So I guess it was curious, the timing. Will there be effects and ramifications? I'm not sure. But one of the things that I have been led to believe is that the CFLPA needed to sign off on the salary cap because it's part of the revenue sharing model, right? And so the Players Association had different avenues that they could allocate those funds, from the pension to medical to whatever, and they chose to go expanding the salary cap. So that's maybe one point for the delay as well. So again, it's going to be interesting when we hear what the actual story is after the story.
So now that the dust has settled and for all intents and purposes, things are done and we're ready for camp to start in a few months, what do you think? Like, expectations are already high, but what is the one burning question that you've got now, knowing what you know about what's going to happen going into the next year, as to cautioning people about, look, we still have this question that needs to be answered about this team. What is it?
That's a great question. And the ones that I have that jump off the page a little bit is what's the ratio going to look like? Are the Riders going to start 2 Canadians or 2 national players in the secondary in Campbell and Lacombo? Are they both going to get the opportunity to start? Because that can really be a ratio changer, but you do need to have depth at that position. So the Riders have re-signed Kosi Onyeka as well. They've got Jaden Dalkey hanging in the wings, and Jackson Ford, who was injured for much of last year. So that ratio in the secondary is going to be an interesting question, because that could allow you to start 3 American players at the linebacking core. The Riders seem to have a wealth of riches along the defensive line, and there's going to be some difficult decisions that have to be made there. And then the receiving core, come back healthy with Sean Bain Jr. You put him in. Of course, you've got Del Duncan Busby with another year under his belt. And what are you going to do in the backfield? Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that A.J. Ouellette won't be the opening day running back, but you've also got Raquel Armstead under contract. You found a way to get them both on the roster last year. Can the Riders be creative and find a way to do that again this year?
How would that creativity go down if we were starting tomorrow?
If you were starting tomorrow, it would probably be a situation where you've got the 3 receivers that are Canadian starters, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Emelis, you've got Kean Schaefer-Baker, and then you've got Del Duncan Busby or Mitch Picton. You pick the order that you put the 3 Canadians on, then Sean Bain Jr. and Keyshawn Johnson probably round out your 5 receivers. And then along the offensive line, you're probably starting at least a pair of Canadians in Logan Furland, and then one of Zach Fry, Noah Zaire at the left guard spot, probably. And then, of course, the right guard spot. So maybe it's a 3rd Canadian along that offensive line with Philippe Gagnon, again, if he's going to fit in there. So, again, it's great to have these options. And Jeremy O'Day, in my mind, has done a masterful job of giving the coaching staff the tools. And now they just got to go ahead and build the championship, if you know what I mean.
I think you're going to get a chance to chat with him tomorrow, and then Maz will have that on the Sports Cage. Shea Patterson to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What did you think about that one?
You know, I kind of thought that there was 3 landing sites for Shea Patterson, because I thought he had done enough last year to prove that he was worth the investment in trying to continue to develop him as a quarterback. So Winnipeg was one. I wonder what Calgary was going to do behind Vernon Adams Jr., just because, right? And then the other guy was out in BC. I didn't know what was going to happen with Nathan Rourke and what route the BC Lions were going to go as far as a backup quarterback went. Now, the Lions, of course, went with Jeremiah Masoli. The Stamps are very happy with PJ Walker, who they signed late in the year, and they chose not to play him, not to throw him into the fire. So they're very high on him. So Winnipeg seems to be a very appropriate landing spot, as Ottawa now all of a sudden has got kind of like a handful of quarterbacks in their realm, and Toronto shored things up with Nick Arbuckle and, of course, Chad Kelly. So I think that's the right landing spot for Shea Patterson. Was it where I maybe anticipated him going? Not exactly, but again, he's well worth and is well deserving of the opportunity.
On the Prairieland Rentals text line, I'll throw this one out here. Ron and Deb, they're in Costa Rica. They wanted us to talk about the NFL halftime show again today. We're not going to. Sean McEwen would be a nice addition on the line after Godber and maybe Skeever. What do you think there?
Well, again, that's a depth piece for sure. Like, he's a great player. He's played Canadian college football. That's where he grew up. That's where he started to develop as a player. So there's no it's not bad if you sign him, right? Again, it's the dollars and cents. What's he willing to do? Of course, Ryan Sevier came in, got dinged up when, again, was the best fifth. What did Luke call him? Luke Mullender referred to him as the fifth best offensive lineman in the league, right? When it came to being number 5 on a depth chart. So again, never say never.
I love talking to passionate Luke on Fridays. All right, Dave. Well, good work. Thanks so much. That is voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who we found out used to unwrap his presents before Christmas. He once got an Army Pete from the Weyburn McLeods in True Value, and he opened it up before Christmas. Dave, thanks so much.
Hey, no problem. I got to run and check out my favorite show. It's on YouTube right now and at sportscage.com.
That's it. We are streaming at sportscage.com. Thanks, Dave.